All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a very specific set of strategies, the corporate playbook that's used to justify how your personal data gets collected and used.
So let's start with a feeling I'm pretty sure we've all had. You absolutely love how an app makes your life easier, right? But then there's that little voice in the back of your head asking, what am I actually giving up for this convenience? Well, that internal conflict, that's exactly what companies are counting on.
And there's actually a name for this, the privacy paradox. Just look at these numbers. A huge 81% of us say we're concerned about data privacy, and yet 79% of us are regularly using the very services that collect all that data. It's this massive gap between what we feel and what we actually do.
And that gap, right there, that's the perfect opening. It's the space where companies step in to tell a story that makes their practices seem totally okay.
So let's get into the first layer of this playbook. These are the public-facing arguments, the ones we all hear. And honestly, they're designed to sound completely reasonable, to put our minds at ease.
The first one is the big one, the one we've all heard a million times. Data collection is just the price of admission. It's the engine that keeps all the internet services we love and rely on free.
The way they frame this makes the whole thing sound like a simple, fair economic trade. You give them your data, and in return, you get to use all this incredible technology without paying a dime. Sounds like a pretty straightforward deal, doesn't it?
But here's the thing about that fair trade story. It leaves out some really crucial details. For one, companies often collect way more data than they actually need, just to show you ads. And the story completely ignores the huge, invisible secondary markets where your data gets packaged up and sold off to companies who've never even heard of.
All right, justification number 2. This one is all about putting the responsibility right back on your shoulders. The argument is that, hey, at the end of the day, you're in the driver's seat. You have the control.
And they'll point to all these tools they give us as proof. You know what I'm talking about. The cookie banners, those complicated privacy dashboards, the constant announcements about new and improved user controls. The message is loud and clear. We're empowering you with choice.
But is it really control? The reality is, well, it's a lot more complicated. Many of these tools use what designers call dark patterns. These are basically little tricks in the design, like making the Accept All button big and bright green, while the Reject option is tiny and gray. They're designed to nudge you towards sharing more, not less. So it gives you the illusion of control, while really guiding you toward their preferred outcome.
Okay, so we've seen the public story. Now let's peel back another layer, because these justifications don't just exist in a vacuum. They are part of a much bigger, much more deliberate public relations machine.
A really key tactic here is what you might call performing transparency. It's all about appearing open and honest in a way that actually protects the company from any real scrutiny. So what does that actually look like? Well, it's things like publishing those ridiculously long privacy policies that we all know nobody reads. Or it could be publicly calling for new privacy laws while behind the scenes their lobbyists are working hard to make sure those laws have no real teeth.
And here's another clever move. Outsource the argument. Companies use these big industry trade associations to do the dirty work, like lobbying for weaker rules or pushing controversial ideas. This way, the individual company gets to keep its hands clean and maintain a privacy-friendly image, while the trade group takes all the heat. It's basically reputation insurance.
Okay, so that's the theory. But what happens when this playbook meets the real world? Like when a major company is right in the middle of a huge privacy scandal.
I mean, you don't have to look any further than Facebook's response to the Cambridge Analytica scandal. It is a textbook example. Just look at the progression. First, you get the public testimony and the apology. Then comes the big announcement of a new privacy-focused vision. And finally, a complete rebrand to Meta. It was this multi-year campaign to completely change the conversation, all while the core business model, collecting data, stayed exactly the same.
Or take Google's Privacy Sandbox initiative. The public story is that Google is heroically fixing a big privacy problem, getting rid of third-party cookies. But critics are pointing out that this solution could actually give Google even more control over the ad market. It's basically swapping one kind of tracking for another.
And remember that whole promise of consumer control? Well, Consumer Reports actually put that to the test. They had people try to use the opt-out tools offered by data brokers. The result? Only 13% of them were confident their request was actually honored. 13%!
So when you peel back all these layers, the public messaging, the PR strategy, the real-world examples, you end up in one place,
a massive, and I mean massive gap between what these companies are saying and what the public actually believes. Just how bad is it? Well, recent survey data shows it's not just a gap, it's a chasm. Only 29% of Americans say they actually trust tech companies with their personal information. That's a record low.
And even with all that talk about consumer control, a whopping 73% of people feel like they have little to no real control over how their data is being used. So whatever the message is, it is definitely not landing.
So what happens when that trust gap finally breaks open and regulators or lawyers actually get involved? Well, the companies don't panic, they just calmly turn to the next page in the playbook.
And this is their crisis response plan. It is so consistent you could practically set your watch to it. Step 1, promise full cooperation. Step 2, announce some new privacy features. Step 3, launch a big PR campaign to reassure everybody. Step 4, frame the whole thing as a one-time mistake and isolated incident. And the final step, if all else fails, take the regulators to court. It's a system designed to manage perception, not to fix the underlying problem.
So what's the big takeaway here? The thing is, once you see this playbook, the justifications, the PR moves, the crisis response, you really can't unsee it. You'll start to hear every corporate statement about privacy in a completely new light. And look, the goal isn't to just stop using these services. It's to recognize the game that's being played. So the next time you hear a company talk about your privacy, you'll know exactly what to ask. Which page of the playbook is this coming from?